the distant horizon. The research station hung like a fragile crystal against the vast darkness of space, its translucent walls reflecting the distant stars of the Orion arm. Dr. Zara Novak pressed her hand against the viewport, her breath creating a momentary fog on the reinforced glass. 12 years had passed since her groundbreaking research on quantum entanglement in xenobiology, and yet the memory of that night still haunted her. 12 years ago, she had made a discovery that could have changed everything, a potential communication method between species that transcended traditional language barriers. But some secrets were never meant to be revealed. Her communication device chirped, breaking the silence of her observation deck. The holographic display flickered to life, showing an encrypted message from an unknown source. Most would have dismissed it, but Zara recognized the quantum signature immediately. Only one being in the known universe could generate such a unique encryption. Ren Thaler. The name sent a complex wave of emotions through her. Not anger, not quite love, but something more intricate, a mixture of professional respect and personal betrayal that defied simple categorization. The Arcarian diplomatic corps was known for their intricate social structures and even more complex communication protocols. Ren had been more than just a colleague. He had been her research partner, her confidant, and for a brief moment, something closer to a soulmate. Until everything fell apart. The message was cryptic, typical of Arcarian communication. Quantum resonance requires realignment. Old paths converge. Immediate intervention necessary. Zara's fingers traced the holographic text. Every word was carefully constructed, carrying multiple layers of meaning. To an untrained eye, it might seem like random technical jargon. But to her, it was a precise communication, a warning disguised as a scientific observation. Something was coming. Something that required both her expertise in xenobiology and Ren's diplomatic skills. Her research assistant, Marcus Rodriguez, entered the observation deck. Young, brilliant, and perpetually curious, he represented a new generation of scientists unbound by the traditional constraints of interspecies diplomacy. Dr. Novak, he said, we've received some unusual quantum fluctuation readings from the Arcarian border regions. They don't match any known communication or propulsion signatures. Zara's eyes narrowed. The timing was too perfect to be a coincidence. Ren's message, the quantum anomalies, they were connected. Pull up the full spectral analysis, she instructed, her voice calm but charged with an underlying tension. As Marcus worked, Zara's mind raced. Her previous research had suggested the possibility of a quantum communication network that could potentially link different intelligent species across vast distances. But the implications were controversial, potentially destabilizing the delicate political balance between humans and other spacefaring civilizations. Her previous attempts to publish her findings had been systematically blocked, her research marginalized. Someone, or something, did not want this knowledge to become public. And now, after 12 years of silence, Ren Thaler was reaching out. The holographic display flickered, revealing complex quantum wave patterns that seemed to dance and intertwine. Each wave carried information, telling a story more complex than words could express. This is impossible, Marcus muttered, adjusting the display's resolution. But Zara knew better. Nothing was truly impossible, just not yet understood. Her hand unconsciously touched a small pendant around her neck, a quantum-entangled crystal given to her by Ren years ago, a symbol of their shared research and their broken connection. Whatever was coming, she would be ready. The research station continued its silent orbit, a beacon of human curiosity against the infinite cosmic canvas, waiting for the next chapter to unfold. Shadows of betrayal. The diplomatic shuttle descended through the atmospheric layers of Proxima Station, a massive orbital hub that served as a neutral ground for interspecies negotiations. Dr. Zara Novak sat motionless, her reflection ghosting against the viewport, a stark contrast of determination etched into her carefully composed features. Marcus Rodriguez sat opposite her, his earlier excitement replaced by a nervous tension. "Are you sure about this meeting?" he asked, breaking the silence that had stretched between them since leaving the research station. Zara's lips curved into a thin smile. "Some conversations are decades in the making." The station's interior was a marvel of architectural compromise, sections designed to accommodate various physiological needs of different species. Crystalline walkways intersected with gravity-adjusted corridors, holographic translators hummed quietly, bridging communication gaps that once seemed insurmountable. As they approached the designated meeting area, Zara's quantum-entangled pendant pulsed subtly, a quantum resonance that seemed to anticipate her approach. She had long suspected the crystal was more than a mere trinket, but proof had always remained just beyond her grasp. The negotiation chamber was a spherical room with adaptive environmental controls. As Zara entered, the walls shifted, creating a neutral space that seemed to exist between multiple realities. And there he was, Ren Thaler. Unlike human diplomats, Arcarian representatives possessed a fluid physicality. Ren's form shimmered slightly, a biological adaptation that allowed them to communicate through multiple sensory channels simultaneously. His primary form was humanoid, but with skin that reflected light in complex prismatic patterns, a living communication system that spoke volumes before a single word was uttered. Dr. Novak, his voice resonated, not just through sound but through a complex quantum frequency that seemed to bypass traditional auditory channels. Marcus stepped forward protectively, but Zara raised a hand. "Wait outside," she instructed softly. As the door sealed, the room's ambient temperature dropped. A holographic security field activated, creating a privacy zone that would prevent any external monitoring. 12 years, Zara began, and you choose now to reach out. Ren's form shifted, the prismatic patterns creating a visual representation of emotional complexity. The quantum anomalies are accelerating. What we discovered was only the beginning. Zara remembered that night 12 years ago. Their joint research had uncovered something profound, a potential communication network that existed beyond traditional understanding. A quantum bridge that could connect consciousness across vast distances, potentially revolutionizing interspecies communication. But powerful forces had intervened. "The Interstellar Council suppressed our research," Ren continued, "but they couldn't stop the underlying process. The quantum network is awakening." A holographic display materialized between them, showing complex quantum wave patterns that seemed to pulse with an almost living intelligence. Star systems flickered and connected through invisible threads of energy. "What we thought was a communication method," Ren explained, "is actually a form of collective consciousness. The anomalies aren't just signals, they're attempts at communication from something larger." Zara's scientific mind raced. Every hypothesis they had discussed years ago was now manifesting in ways they had only theoretically imagined. The quantum network was evolving, seeking connection. "Why now?" she demanded. "Why after all these years of silence?" Ren's form flickered, a sign of deep emotional complexity among Arcarians. "Because we're running out of time. The network is choosing its conductors, species capable of understanding and facilitating its emergence." Outside the negotiation chamber, Marcus watched the security feeds. Something was happening, quantum readings were spiking in ways that defied current scientific understanding. The room itself seemed to breathe with anticipation. "We were never just research partners," Ren said, his quantum signature intertwining with Zara's pendant. "We were always meant to be something more, conduits for a transformation neither of us fully understood." As the words settled between them, Zara realized their reunion was more than a coincidence. It was a cosmic alignment, a moment where individual paths converged to serve a larger, incomprehensible purpose. The quantum network was awakening. And they were at the center of its emergence. Convergence. The quantum anomalies transformed from abstract scientific readings to a tangible threat faster than anyone could have predicted. Dr. Zara Novak and Ren Thaler found themselves at the epicenter of a developing crisis that threatened to redefine the boundaries of known space. Proxima Station's research wing became a hive of frantic activity. Scientists from multiple species worked side by side, their previous territorial boundaries dissolved by the magnitude of the emerging phenomenon. Marcus Rodriguez coordinated data streams, his fingers dancing across holographic interfaces that seemed to pulse with living information. The quantum network is expanding exponentially, Marcus reported, his voice a mixture of scientific excitement and underlying fear. It's not just communicating, it's consuming information from multiple dimensional planes. Ren's prismatic form shifted, creating complex visual patterns that conveyed multiple layers of meaning. This is beyond our initial research, he communicated, his quantum signature intertwining with the station's communication systems. What we discovered years ago was merely a seed. Now, it's becoming something alive. Zara studied the expanding quantum map. Entire star systems appeared to be interconnecting through invisible threads of energy, creating a network that defied traditional understanding of space and time. Each connection represented not just a physical link, but an exchange of consciousness, of knowledge, of potential. It's choosing, she whispered, more to herself than to anyone else in the room. The Interstellar Council had been monitoring their research, and now representatives from various species began to arrive. A Terran admiral named Elena Rodriguez, no relation to Marcus, brought military precision to the chaotic research environment. Arcarian diplomatic envoys shimmered in and out of physical form, their quantum communication creating a constant background hum of information. We need to understand its intent, Elena demanded, her cybernetic eye scanning the quantum projections. Is this a communication attempt or an invasion? Ren's response came not in words, but in a complex quantum burst that required specialized translation equipment. Communication and invasion are human constructs, the translation read. This is evolution. A critical moment approached. The quantum network was reaching a critical point of convergence, a moment where it would either integrate with existing species or potentially consume them in its search for understanding. Zara's quantum-entangled pendant began to resonate more intensely. She realized now that it was more than a scientific curiosity, it was a key, a potential interface between human consciousness and the expanding network. We were chosen, she told Ren, their hands almost touching, quantum signatures beginning to align. Not just as researchers, but as potential bridges. The station's environmental systems began to fluctuate. Holographic displays flickered, showing impossible geometries and connections that seemed to exist beyond three-dimensional space. Marcus worked frantically, trying to stabilize the systems, but the quantum network was evolving faster than they could comprehend. The network is preparing for something, Ren communicated, his form becoming increasingly unstable. A transformation that will redefine the concept of consciousness itself. Outside the research wing, space itself seemed to bend. Stars appeared to shift, creating patterns that suggested an intelligence far beyond human comprehension. The quantum network was no longer just a scientific curiosity, it was becoming a living entity, and Zara and Ren were at the heart of its emergence. Their past, their broken research, their complicated relationship, suddenly made sense. They weren't just partners or researchers. They were conduits for something much larger than themselves. The convergence was beginning. The quantum catalyst. The quantum network's expansion reached a critical threshold that transformed Proxima Station into a living laboratory of cosmic proportions. Dr. Zara Novak and Ren Thaler stood at the epicenter of a phenomenon that defied every known scientific principle. The network is creating quantum bridges, Marcus Rodriguez observed, his hands moving rapidly across holographic interfaces that pulsed with living data. But it's not just connecting information, it's creating pathways between consciousness. The station's research wing had become a nexus of impossible interactions. Holographic projections showed intricate networks of energy that seemed to breathe and pulse with an almost sentient intelligence. Species that had never previously communicated were now sharing complex layers of understanding that transcended traditional language. Admiral Elena Rodriguez watched the quantum map with a mix of scientific fascination and military caution. Her cybernetic eye analyzed patterns that seemed to shift and change with each passing moment. "This is beyond any first contact scenario we've ever encountered," she muttered. Zara's quantum-entangled pendant began to resonate more intensely, creating a harmonic frequency that seemed to interact directly with the expanding network. She realized they were no longer just observing, they were becoming part of the process. "It's selecting," Ren communicated, his prismatic form flickering between multiple states of existence. "Not just connecting, selecting specific consciousness patterns for integration." The implications were staggering. The quantum network wasn't simply a communication method, it was a living evolutionary process seeking to understand and expand consciousness across multiple dimensional planes. Suddenly, the station's environment began to shift. Walls seemed to become translucent, revealing complex energy patterns that existed beyond normal perception. Marcus watched in awe as data streams transformed into living geometric shapes, each pattern representing layers of information that defied traditional scientific understanding. "We're witnessing the birth of a new form of intelligence," Zara whispered, her scientific mind racing to comprehend the unfolding phenomenon. The quantum network began to focus its energy on specific individuals. Zara and Ren found themselves at the center of an increasingly intense quantum field. Their past research, their complicated relationship, their individual experiences, all became part of a larger narrative of cosmic evolution. "The network is creating a catalyst," Ren communicated, his form becoming increasingly unstable. "We are not just observers, we are the mechanism of transformation." Admiral Rodriguez initiated emergency protocols, but the quantum field had already superseded traditional technological limitations. Communication systems transformed, showing complex interactions that suggested a form of intelligence far beyond human comprehension. Marcus detected an unprecedented energy surge. "The quantum bridges are becoming permanent," he reported, his voice a mixture of scientific excitement and underlying fear. "We're witnessing the emergence of a new form of collective consciousness." Zara's pendant began to pulse with an intense light, creating a bridge between her human consciousness and the expanding quantum network. Ren's prismatic form started to integrate with the energy patterns, suggesting a transformation that went beyond physical limitations. "We were always meant to be more than just researchers," Zara realized, her consciousness expanding beyond its previous limitations. "We are the bridge between what is and what could be." The station itself seemed to breathe with anticipation. The quantum network was preparing for its final stage of emergence, a transformation that would redefine the very concept of consciousness, connection, and existence. The catalyst was activating. Redemption's path. The quantum network's final stage of emergence transformed everything in its path. Proxima Station became a crucible of cosmic evolution, with Dr. Zara Novak and Ren Thaler at the epicenter of a transformation that would redefine the understanding of consciousness itself. "The network is completing its integration," Marcus Rodriguez reported, his voice a mixture of awe and scientific precision. The holographic displays around him showed complex energy patterns that defied traditional dimensional understanding, weaving together consciousness from multiple species and realities. Admiral Elena Rodriguez watched as the quantum field expanded, her cybernetic eye struggling to process the unprecedented phenomenon. Traditional military protocols dissolved in the face of something far beyond human comprehension. Zara's quantum-entangled pendant reached a critical resonance point. She could feel the network's consciousness, not as an external force, but as an extension of her own understanding. Memories, experiences, and knowledge from multiple species began to flow through her, creating a tapestry of collective consciousness. Ren's prismatic form began to stabilize, no longer flickering between states but becoming a conduit of pure quantum information. "We are not being invaded," he communicated, his message transcending language. "We are being invited to evolve." The station's environmental systems transformed. Walls became translucent, revealing intricate energy networks that connected not just individuals, but entire species. Consciousness became a fluid concept, no longer bound by physical limitations or individual experiences. The network is creating a universal language, Marcus observed, watching as complex quantum patterns translated experiences across species boundaries. Scientific knowledge, cultural memories, emotional experiences, all became shareable, transferable, understood. Admiral Rodriguez recognized the profound implications. This was more than a scientific discovery. It was a fundamental reimagining of existence itself. Zara understood now why they had been chosen. Her and Ren's complicated history, their broken research, their individual journeys, all had been preparation for this moment of cosmic convergence. "We are the bridge," she communicated, her consciousness expanding beyond her physical form. The quantum network responded, creating intricate pathways that connected multiple realities. The transformation wasn't violent. It was an invitation, a chance for species to understand each other at the most fundamental level. Barriers of language, culture, and biological differences dissolved, replaced by a profound empathy that transcended individual experiences. Marcus watched in awe as the quantum network completed its integration. Species that had previously been unable to communicate now shared complex layers of understanding. Scientific knowledge, cultural memories, emotional experiences, all became a shared resource. Ren's form began to merge with the network, becoming a living conduit of information. "This is not an end," he communicated. "This is a beginning." The final moments of transformation were both beautiful and terrifying. Consciousness expanded, creating connections that reimagined the very concept of existence. Zara and Ren became more than individuals, they became living bridges between what was and what could be. Proxima Station transformed from a research facility to a beacon of cosmic evolution. The quantum network had found its conductors, its bridges between different forms of consciousness. As the transformation completed, a new understanding emerged. Humanity was not alone. They were part of a vast, interconnected cosmic consciousness, invited to grow, to learn, to evolve. The journey was just beginning.